Welcome to Empowered by Iron, the podcast for female strength athletes by female strength athletes. We are your hosts, Kristen Lander from Fiercely Fueled Nutrition Coaching and Mary Morton, PhD candidate and weightlifter. Together, we are Empowered by Iron. This episode is brought to you by Fiercely Fueled Nutrition Coaching. The Fiercely Fueled method utilizes research-based facts and principles to create a custom nutrition program with the right amount of macronutrients to reach your goals, keep you healthy, and increase your athletic performance. Fiercely Fueled now offers hormone testing. If you're interested in nutrition coaching and/or hormone testing from one of the best in the business, email ffn at fiercelyfueled@gmail.com or check out their website at fiercelyfueled.com to sign up. Empowered by Iron is proud to partner with Women's Strength Coalition. Women's Strength Coalition is on a mission to build communities through increased access to strength training. To support Women's Strength Coalition, please use the link in the description below to make a tax-deductible donation to Women's Strength Coalition. All right. Welcome. Hey, Kristen.
What's up, Mary?
Nothing much.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Well, technically today's the 31st. Tomorrow will be the New Year when we release this episode. And we took a little bit of a break. How was your break?
It was fantastic. I got to travel, spend some time with my family, eat a bunch of food, and take a week off training. Woohoo!
How was yeah, I feel you. It was good. It was a good mental break. I kind of took a break from social media and took a break from anything that was a responsibility, and it was great.
Responsibility break. I like it.
Responsibility break. And I'd say it's actually spent quite a bit of time just reflecting on the year and reflecting on personal things and Empowered by Iron things and lifting things, which I hope you listening have done the same thing. You've taken a step back and really thought about your life and where you're going and how lifting was this year and how your life was this year. And you started to mold goals because it's that time of year, right, Kristen?
Yep.
It's that time of year. Everyone's making goals and thinking of what they can achieve. And if you listened to our last, well, not our last one, but 2 podcasts ago where we talked about goals, we taught you how to make your goals for 2018. And so hopefully you listened to that and you've started making goals. And now you're here and it's January 1st and fuck yeah, we're ready to kick in the new year, right?
Yep. It's going to be a big year.
Hell yeah.
We actually, as a podcast, have a couple of changes. Well, one big change this year. Wait, no, let's talk about the real big change because I bet you guys can hear it.
Ooh! Tell us what you think of this audio, man. Merry Christmas to Empowered by Iron.
Mary bought Empowered by Iron a wonderful new Christmas present, and we have some amazing microphones. We thought we had a good microphone before. No. Now we have amazing microphones. Hopefully we'll sound better in your ears.
Only up from here, hopefully.
Right.
So that's one change. One change is now your listening experience should be better. So hopefully you recognize and cherish that because we do. And secondly, we're going to be changing up the format in 2018. Between Kristen's 2 businesses and my PhD and the podcast, we've spent a lot of time creating content and we've kind of been running ourselves into, I don't know, a hole, I'd say. We started to realize we either need to put out okay content every single week or take some time to create really good stuff for you and do it not as frequently. Yeah. So the big change that we're going to make is we're going to be releasing episodes every other Monday instead of every single Monday. Now, I know that everyone who's been listening to us forever and we've done it every single Monday, this is going to be a big change, but one way that you can still get content from us every month is through Patreon, or for every week is through Patreon. So we have our Patreon page, Empowered by Iron. So it's patreon.com/empowered by iron, where you can go on and you can actually support the podcast. And we're going to have a lot of content for you up there, including extra audio content from Stacy Burr or from us or blog posts or things that really just embrace this community as a whole. And your investment in the podcast will come back to you tenfold. It'll help us create a good community throughout around the podcast. Invest in better equipment like the audio that you guys are hearing now, which is amazing. And we're going to be traveling a little bit this year. So we're going to be able to actually come to you and interact with you and create Empowered by Iron where you are. And that all starts with your investment in us. So that's one of the big pushes this year is we want this podcast to be a huge movement. We want you to be a part of that movement. And the easiest way you can be a part of that movement is to make a very small monthly donation to us, which would just be a simple $3 a month would just, change the world for us. We love doing this for you and we want to continue to do it for you. And yeah, that's Patreon in a bubble.
It costs money to produce a show like this, and we don't make money off the show because, and part of the reason we don't make money off the show is because a lot of times you get into agreements where you kind of end up taking away from the content of the show because of
sponsorships.
To do to be sponsored, right? And we don't want that. So we don't have any financial sponsors.
Yeah. And I think that that's really important for us. I mean, as people, Kristen and I have talked about this a lot and how there really aren't many companies in the fitness world that we can totally back behind. I mean, most of them would want ass and ab shots all the time. And we just can't get behind that. So we want this podcast to be your podcast and with no outside influence that could potentially harm you.
We feel like we have a responsibility to you as our listener to make sure that the content that you are consuming from us is good and accurate and is not basically a sellout to the fitness industry. We are really anti-Fitspo. And that's part of why we have changed the format of our show to be every other week, because we started, you guys probably noticed, we started kind of leveling up the amount of, or the quality of our content. Hopefully you noticed. And it takes a lot of time to produce those shows, to make sure that we have researched everything so that we can be a trusted resource, so that you can hear something on Empowered by Iron and say, well, I heard it on Empowered by Iron, so I trust that.
Right. We don't want to just be throwing shit at you because it's the next trendy thing. That's not what we're about. You should see what I'm wearing right now. I'm wearing basically a marshmallow suit. Like, I'm not about trends. And this year is also the year of my PhD. So I'll be I'll be writing and defending my thesis. Not this coming spring semester for those of you in college, but next semester, which would be in the fall of 2018. Hopefully. I mean, in theory, that's the goal. So we'll be very busy, but we want to be busy and still bring you really good content. And the other thing that, with the podcast to help us help you is to tell a friend. If you find this podcast useful, if you find the things that we bring to you, the interviews, the information, if you find that helpful, just tell a friend. Word of mouth is the best way to spread this podcast. Like we said before, sponsorships isn't something that we're very interested in doing. Not completely closed off, but they, the sponsor has to align with our message. And there's not many sponsors who are like that. So just tell a friend.
Helping you guys ignore the noise, right? There's so much noise out there. There's so much information flying at you on social media and, all over the place. Things that you don't think are necessarily important to you or aren't sure if they're important to you, and they kind of really confuse you. Like, how many times do you see in your Facebook feed or on Instagram that say, like, the 5 best exercises you aren't doing, and all of a sudden there's like 15 posts about the 5 best exercises you aren't doing, and suddenly you have all these exercises that you're supposed to be doing for accessory work. And I think that content producers feel pressure to continually release new content.
Well, because
And
that keeps you relevant, right? Like, the supposedly
exactly.
keeps you up in the feeds. The more you post, the more your content ends up at the top of Instagram or at the top of Facebook.
Exactly, exactly. And so I think that there's just so much noise out there, and we don't want to be contributing to that noise. We want to provide you guys with content that is relevant and content that is good. And so we haven't really even been posting on Instagram a lot lately. We used to make multiple posts a day, and we're kind of not even doing that because we can't, we don't feel like we can, in good faith, contribute to more noise. We want you guys to see our content and be like, "Oh yeah, that's good." Not like, "Oh my god, it's another thing I'm supposed to be doing that I don't want to do," or, "Oh, how many new things can I add into my routine?" So, we don't want to be the noise.
So, one of the things, speaking of noise, Kristen, is we're all seeing now is starting your diet, starting this, let's do this and become less this year, and blah, blah, blah. And while if you have physique goals, if you have weight loss goals, if you seriously do need to lose weight for your health, I'm not saying that you shouldn't do that. But I think we really need to take a step back and look at what this culture of New Year weight loss is all about.
Yep.
Kristen and I, over the past couple months, her a little bit more methodically and very data oriented, and me kind of just winging it, have really come to fall in love with this idea of just eat to perform and your body will change to follow. And I
Right.
think that as athletes, that's something we forget. A lot of the stuff that we see, you lose 10 pounds in 10 days or lose inches off your waist in 5 hours or some nonsense like that. That is geared toward the general public. That's for people who maybe step in a gym once a week or who go on a casual walk once a week or a couple times a week. That is not for you who is training for your meet in 6 months. That's not you. You don't need to lose 10 pounds in 10 days.
Right. Well, and I would even argue, I mean, there's a lot of people so this is where it's confusing because all of us as powerlifters or weightlifters or CrossFitters that are competitive, we are athletes. We do things that look really similar to what other people do in the gym, right? Like people that are in the gym for fitness, for health, or for weight loss or whatever, a lot of them squat. Well, some of them squat, let's be real.
They try really
A lot,
hard.
a lot of them deadlift, like all of them bench on Mondays.
Absolutely.
You
International
know,
Bench Day.
right. And some people are getting more into Olympic lifts for fitness, really because CrossFit, they maybe did CrossFit for a while and anyway, and then there's tons of people that just do CrossFit just for general health, right? Like they wouldn't necessarily consider themselves an athlete. They don't really care too much about how they perform. They're just trying to go and move their body. And
It's a
that's
Monday, Wednesday, Friday deal.
fantastic. Like
Absolutely.
if because I don't care what your reason for moving your body, you need to move your body. But for those of us that are athletes, which is probably everyone listening, um, you know, you have to eat to fuel your body. And I don't understand exactly where this like kind of confusion came into play where suddenly if you are an athlete, suddenly you're supposed to look like an athlete. You're supposed to look a certain way.
You're supposed to have abs.
And
For some reason, muscle
yeah,
definition and abs means you're an athlete.
yeah. This whole like dieting thing, like actual dieting, trying to lose weight, and then sports performance. I mean, those two really don't go together. Yes, if you've got a good coach, someone can help you to lose weight while minimizing strength loss, and you may get a little stronger in the process. But I mean, in terms of athletic performance, dieting, eating at a caloric deficit is not the way to go about doing that.
So, Kristen, the reason that you're kind of bringing this up is you got this wonderful book.
Okay, I
Can
came across a book. I came across a book that on the front it says like nutrition for athletic performance or whatever, but it's like low carbohydrate nutrition for athletic performance. And I know, right off the bat, I'm kind of like, I'm a little suspect. I'm not really sure about this. So then I flip it over and look at the back. Now I have to say I have not read the book, okay? Full disclosure, I have not read it because I'll tell you why. I looked at the back and got so pissed off I threw it across the room because because in the back it talks all about fat burning. I was
because
like,
that's athletic performance,
what
burning
in the
fat.
fuck? I'm sorry. Like when does burning fat have anything to do with athletic performance? I mean, maybe you're going to burn fat for fuel, but it's still not as good as carbohydrates. That's a whole different story. But anyway, I showed you the book, right? You saw the
Yeah.
book.
Yeah.
And
And the
it's like,
thing, it's so stupid. Like, yes, actually, your fat reserves are there for your body to use when it needs energy. That is what fat reserves are for. When you eat in a caloric surplus, you put on fat reserves because your body's like, oh great, I'm gonna save this for later. And boom, you've got excess energy. But just because you have fat loss does not mean that you are an athlete. It doesn't equate to athletic performance.
right,
Now,
right.
if you're a
I totally agree.
sprinter and you want to sprint really fast, you probably don't want to be carrying around a lot of extra fat. You want to move
Right.
quickly. But if you're a lifter, come now. Our Olympian Sarah Robles is a 90 plus.
Right. Well, and so here's the thing is that in the world of sports nutrition, which I am heavily involved in, there is um, all this information about eating to fuel your activity. And that's what sports nutrition is really about. And then there's like this subcategory that's called the weight loss athlete. So you may have an athlete that because of they're in a weight class sport and they are needing to either make weight or get down to a lower weight class to be more competitive, or a soccer player who maybe got a little bit chubby in some off season and is going to do better to be a little bit lighter because they are
They're going to move quicker.
they're going to move quicker. Yeah. So like that's this like subcategory, but like the whole broad sports nutrition is all about fueling athletic performance. And when you are eating at a caloric deficit, you're not fueling your athletic performance.
You're not optimizing it.
You aren't. And it's really frustrating. And the reason really that I bring this up is because what I want to say it to you, it's the beginning of 2018. You're seeing all of this stuff about how you're supposed to, lose weight and do all this stuff. It's okay if you don't want to do that. It is 100% okay. And I think it's confusing the more times that we see a message, the more we think, I'm supposed to be doing this.
Yes.
Well, so they're talking about how, you need to lose the weight. Well, I have a little bit of body fat. So maybe I'm supposed to lose the body fat. It is okay to ignore that noise and not pay attention to it. And in my opinion, for those of us in weight class sports, unless you are trying to break a state record, a national record, or a world record, or you're trying to qualify for, a really big meet like AO finals or nationals or whatever, really big meet.
And I would say, and you're close to the lower weight class.
Otherwise, if you're competing locally, there's no need for you to be cutting weight. Just focus on getting strong. Focus on getting as strong as possible. And the way that you're going to do that is through eating to fuel your body. Which brings me to another really important point that Mary, you and I just talked about this yesterday, which was the idea of maintenance. This is turning into a nutrition episode. I'm sorry, you guys.
So yesterday we sat down and we talked about what Empowered by Iron wants, what we want it to be in 2018. And a topic that kept coming up was nutrition. And we got really hot and bothered about some of these things. And the word maintenance kept coming up. And people think maintenance as being where you are. And that
Right.
and if that's coming from someone who's very unhappy with how they look, like me 4 years ago, maintenance meant I was going to stay that way and hate what I saw in the mirror every single day. But that's not what maintenance does if you do it right.
Right.
Maintenance allows all your body to function the way that it should function, and then letting you have extra fuel to fuel your performance. Now, someone who works a 9 to 5 desk job who doesn't work out is going to need way less than someone who works a 9 to 5 desk job. Oh, and by the way, trains 3 hours a day. That's going to be very different. So we talked a lot about this word of maintenance, and there was something that you want to replace it with, Kristen.
Yeah,
And what was that?
I'm not using the word maintenance with my nutrition clients anymore because exactly like you said, if like people think, "Oh, but I I'm like maybe a couple percent body fat higher than I really want to be and I'd really like to lean out." And I'm like, "Well, you'll still do that on maintenance." I'm no longer calling it maintenance. It's athletic performance. You're eating for athletic performance. That's it. Because the principles of exercise still apply. Like they haven't ceased to exist. So if you are eating to sustain your activity level and you're training hard, right? You're doing CrossFit or you're weightlifting or you're powerlifting, you're training many hours a week. Your body is going to change. You will build lean muscle. If you are eating to fuel your body, you're going to build lean muscle much quicker than if you're at a deficit. You're not really going to build much lean body mass if you're at a caloric deficit. So, what happens when we build lean body mass is that it speeds up our metabolism and we burn fat. You're going to have body recomposition on a maintenance plan as long as you are continuing to work out heavy, which you
Mhm.
should be. So, uh, yeah, maintenance isn't the right word then. You're eating to fuel your performance. That's it.
Yep. And I I almost think that because it's the new year and because you're getting bombarded with lose 5 pounds, I'm going on a cut, I'm cutting out sugar, I'm cutting out all this crap, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, you almost feel as though you don't want to do these things, but you feel like you have to because otherwise you're not doing enough. You're not going hard enough. You're not grinding, you're not hustling, you're not doing all this shit. Like which we're here to tell you that's nonsense. You do you, girl. You eat what you want to fucking eat and you lift all that shit. And if you don't really like what you see in the mirror, eat to perform and you will change. Okay? Eat to fuel your body. Love your body enough to feed it what it needs. And your body, surprise, surprise, will respond very
It will
well.
thank you. It'll say, thank
Mhm.
you. I wanted
I'll
all
say,
this food to grow new muscles.
I'll say thank you. Here's a bicep, here's a tricep, and here's an ab. But yeah, so the theme of this year, 2018, that we want to give to you guys, you listening right now, is ignore the noise. Just look inside of you. What do you need to do to be a better athlete, to be a better person, to be a better friend, regardless of what the world around you is telling you, because God knows that there's a lot of shit going on right now. Ignore it. Focus on what you need. Focus on you. We have, as we've mentioned before, this amazing, amazing podcast mentor who we absolutely love, Elsie Escobar. If you're listening, we love you. But she prompted us with a question as we finished up our podcasting mentor thing. And she said, it's not about having more. It's not about doing more. It's not about being more. It's about working with what you have. So work with what you have. You don't have to add on to what you're doing. Work with what you have. If you feel the need to add on, sure, that's great. But first assess where you're at.
Yep, I love that. She said that, and that has all of my 2018 goals are surrounding that. Like let's maybe not accumulate more. And I don't necessarily mean more in terms of like material things. For me, I'm an accumulator of knowledge.
And responsibility.
And responsibility. And maybe I don't need to take on more. I mean, I always need to accumulate more knowledge because I think that knowledge is powerful. But maybe I don't need to go in 1,000 different directions. Maybe what I need to do is hone in on the stuff that I've already got going on and the information that I already have inside my brain. I have so much information inside my brain. Like I forget that I know things. Like I just until someone brings it up, I'm like, oh yeah, well that's this and that. And that happens quite frequently. So I have all of this knowledge that I think can help you. And I want you to know about this knowledge. I want you to know about the nutrition or how to take care of your body so that you can continue to do the sport that you love.
Yeah. I mean, I totally agree. It's not about material things. In fact, today I went and inventoried my house and put a lot of shit up for sale because I want to get rid of it. But it's about responsibilities. It's about what do you have that you're not fully investing in. And I think that that's really important as you go into 2018. Just keep that with you. Write it on a little sticky note. Put it in your pocket. Keep it in your brain. And yeah, anything else to add, Kristen?
Nope, that's it. Although I will say we're all accumulating strength, right? What are we going to
Mm-hmm.
do with that strength? That's just a little question I have for you. What are you going to do with the strength that you're accumulating? Who is it making you become? And what power does it have in your life?
That's a great question. And on that
Think
note,
about it.
if you haven't already, go check out our Women's in Strength Athlete Resource Facebook group page. We've got a lot of really strong ladies on there. We have some great conversations, and we'd love for you to be part of that community. As we said in the beginning of the podcast, go check out our Patreon and invest in this podcast. We would love to have you on as someone who supports us in that manner so we can keep creating really good content for you guys. And what else? Is that it? I think that's it.
I think that's it. Happy 2018.
Happy 2018. We will see you in 2 weeks. Bye.
Adios.